Elder Raiden I. Have you ever pondered the intricate dance of data and how messages get shuffled around in those big places they call data centers?
Greetings, Hu Tao. Data centers, you say? I'm aware they house numerous machines, but tell me more about this dance you speak of. How do they manage the multitude of incoming requests?
It's all about the fine art of load balancing. Imagine a bustling courtyard where everyone wants a piece of your attention. Load balancing is like having assistants to distribute the crowd evenly, ensuring no single person is overwhelmed.
Intriguing. So this load balancing ensures that processing is efficient. But what exactly are these requests and how do they arrive at the data center?
These requests are essentially questions or tasks for the data center's servers. They can come from many places, even other data centers or locally. They arrive in a stream, you see, like a constant flow of curious minds wanting answers.
I see. And how do the data centers respond to these streams without faltering under pressure?
They have a strategy. Within these data centers they have backend tasks, which are like the skilled performers. These are server processes, ready to take on inquiries efficiently. Each task can be thought of as a seasoned storyteller, well-versed in handling numerous tales at once.
And are these backend tasks all similar, or do they vary?
Great question. They're quite uniform or homogeneous, as they say. They're interchangeable, so if one takes a break, poof, another takes over without any fuss.
That sounds very efficient. But how many of these backend tasks are there generally in a data center?
Oh, let me tell you, the numbers can vary widely, from a modest 3 for the smallest tasks, all the way to more than 10,000 for the grandest of services, especially in some of the vast data centers that Google manages.
What a spectacle that must be. How do they decide which task should handle a specific request?
Well, that's where the magic of protocols comes in. Client tasks, those are the ones asking the questions. Choose a backend task based on protocols running on TCP and UDP, sort of like choosing a courier.
And how do these protocols ensure that no backend task gets overwhelmed?
They rely on load balancing techniques, refined over time by skilled engineers. Picture a finely tuned orchestra, with a maestro directing services to where they're most needed.
Those engineers must have spent much time perfecting this. Are these techniques unique to Google?
They do have their unique flair, I must say. Google engineers have put years into developing these strategies. It's like crafting a perfect poem, each word, or in this case algorithm, meticulously chosen.
I gather there's more to these techniques than meets the eye. What's involved in these Google-specific techniques?
There's a bit of everything. Routing policies at the application level, managing requests to specific servers, and algorithms to balance it all. Imagine a chef perfectly portioning a feast to ensure every guest leaves satisfied and full.
It sounds quite complex. How do they ensure every query is processed in such a harmonious manner?
They aim for an ideal case, where each backend task shares the load equally, ensuring everything runs smoothly. However, the real world often throws a curveball or two, requiring careful balancing to prevent overloading any single task.
It's like sustaining balance on a blade. Does this balancing also consider external factors, like how incoming traffic is perceived?
Indeed, they take note of fluctuations, traffic markers if you will. It helps to foresee potential congestion and decide whether to send more traffic or hold back. Imagine weaving through a crowd while keeping an eye on the tide.
And does this approach involve any visual aids to better understand the load distribution?
Well, there are graphs and figures used to visualize scenarios, like a virtuoso reading sheet music. Engineers use these visualizations to fine-tune their approach.
Do tell me about the levels of detail and considerations these load distribution graphs capture.
They can show task distribution over time, revealing hidden patterns and wasted resources if things aren't balanced right. It's about seeing where all the energy flows and leaks.
I can imagine the frustration if this energy is squandered. How do they measure such efficiency?
They'd calculate CPU consumption across tasks, identifying what they call wasted capacity. It's like preparing a grand leeway banquet and finding half the dishes untouched because they weren't served effectively.
Then how do these data centers optimize their practices to reclaim such unused resources?
They introduce policies correcting distribution with precision. A little like embodying the spirit of a leeway festival, adapting to the crowd, making sure the celebration goes on with everyone, including the tasks, enjoying equally.
Such an elaborate systems dance. I see how it parallels the harmony in swordplay. Do these policies adapt quickly to changes?
Like a breeze in late spring, swift and responsive. They constantly evolve, tweaking as required by changes in data flow or task demands. It's important to stay in tune with the pulse of the moment.
Does this evolution in practice cater to a variety of services within these data centers?
Absolutely, the techniques are versatile. Imagine a musician's repertoire, sometimes it's a solo, other times a symphony. The data center services are like the pieces of sheet music.
Given your vibrant description, I'm curious if there's more depth to this tale.
Oh, there's always more. Like an endless parade of colorful lanterns. We haven't even touched on the intricacies of the policies themselves. But for now, I've spilled quite a bit of spirit for you, like a storyteller at the market square.
Indeed, you've painted a vivid image of this technical tapestry. I look forward to uncovering more layers in this digital landscape. Hu Tao, while the principles of balance sound harmonious, I'm curious, how do these data centers maintain the health of all these back-end tasks so effectively?
Managing the health of back-end tasks is much like tending to a garden. You have to spot the withering plants early and nurture them, or sometimes just let them gracefully go if needed.
Could you elaborate on the methods used to identify these withering plants? I presume there must be a systematic approach for such a large-scale operation.
Absolutely. There's an approach that revolves around something called flow control. Imagine each back-end task as a performer on stage. Flow control helps keep an eye on how overwhelmed each performer is. When a performer has too many requests, we consider them unhealthy.
Fascinating. So what happens when a back-end task is deemed unhealthy?
Good question, If a task is overloaded, it's treated as needing a pause, like a musician taking 5. It's no longer given new requests until it catches its breath, ensuring it doesn't spiral into chaos.
And this helps in somehow balancing the load among tasks, doesn't it?
Exactly. It's a very organic form of spreading the load. Clients simply divert their attention to other, less burdened musicians, allowing the pace to even out naturally.
However, I suppose this method seems quite basic. Are there situations where this wouldn't suffice?
Oh, very much so. Sometimes, tasks may still overflow well before hitting any limits set by flow control, or they might not even be struggling at all, and just taking their sweet time with long-lived requests.
Then, how do you address such intricacies beyond the basics?
There's a more nuanced strategy called the lame duck state. It's as if a task, despite being capable, asks for some quiet time to wrap things up without new disturbances.
Lame duck state, intriguing name. How does this state work within the operation?
When a back-end task enters this state, it signals to all its active clients that it's not accepting new requests anymore. Think of it politely saying, "I'm stepping off stage soon, please send requests elsewhere."
And what about clients who aren't actively engaged with this task at the moment?
For those, we have UDP health checks, tiny messages that listen for the lame duck signals, passing the message across swiftly. It's like whispering a secret that gets heard quickly by all.
That's efficient. How do you prevent this from causing disruption to the current processes?
That's the beauty of it. The task continues to serve any ongoing requests it already accepted before entering lame duck mode, so no disruption occurs. It's a graceful exit, letting the performer finish the act without new interruptions.
A graceful exit seems ideal. But what happens if tasks don't stop their requests in time?
Well, the job scheduler awaits patiently, allowing ample time for completion. However, if requests linger too long past a set interval, it steps in to conclude the task cleanly or, if need be, assertively finishes it off.
That sounds quite calculated. How is this interval determined?
The interval is a thoughtful consideration, varying per service. Much like determining how long the final note should ring out in a concert, between 10 to 150 seconds depending on complexity.
And what about when a backend task is not ready to serve right from its start?
In those cases, tasks start listening early for connections during their initializing phase. Once ready, they send out a cheerful signal announcing, "I'm ready for the spotlight."
This orchestration sounds both intricate and robust. Does it also consider limiting connections somehow?
Ah, yes, beyond health management, there's something called subsetting, ensuring a client doesn't connect to too many backends, or vice versa.
I imagine that must conserve lots of resources. How is it implemented in the broader system?
Exactly. By choosing a subset of potential backend tasks a client interacts with, we maintain efficiency and limit resource wastage. And the method by which subsets are chosen can make or break the harmony.
Interesting. I suppose the method for picking these subsets is quite important then?
More so than one might think. The selection algorithm is designed to shuffle and choose these subsets wisely, keeping balance amidst potential backend restarts and failures.
So there's much more to this tale than meets the eye. I'm eager to hear about these algorithms next. Hu Tao, you've piqued my curiosity further. You mentioned subsetting as a method to conserve resources. Can you elaborate on why limiting connections is essential?
Subsetting is like a masterful weaver selecting the right strands for the finest tapestry. It ensures a client doesn't connect with too many backends or receive connections from too many clients, which would just waste precious resources like memory and CPU.
So it's about maintaining efficiency and avoiding resource wastage. But how does this work exactly?
Imagine each client as a friendly spirit maintaining a pool of long-lasting connections to its backends. Normally, these links stay open and buzz with requests until the client finally departs into the digital ether.
And without subsetting, what could go wrong with these connections?
Without it, you'd have a chaotic dance where one client might connect to too many backends, or vice versa, leading to wasted energy and resources, akin to an overstocked stage with too many performers.
Ah, I see. A resource-heavy orchestra with no clear direction. So subsetting finds a balance then?
Precisely. It curtails the open-ended nature of connections, keeping the craft organized and fluid. Each client needs just enough connections to handle its share of work, while not overburdening the system.
You've mentioned different methods for subsetting. How do they vary?
There are two main approaches: random subsetting and deterministic subsetting. Think of them like different styles of preparing a lavish banquet.
Random sounds like a recipe for chaos. Is it practical in such a large setting?
Indeed, random subsetting scatters connections like blossom petals in the wind, leading to uneven load distribution across back-end tasks. It's unpredictable and tends to create imbalances, a bit like tossing ingredients without measuring.
And what about deterministic subsetting? How is it different?
Deterministic subsetting is like a seasoned chef meticulously arranging each dish. It's far more uniform, ensuring each back-end gets a fair share of connections, like perfectly balanced dollops on a plate.
It sounds like deterministic subsetting offers a more consistent performance. Why is uniform distribution so important?
Consistency ensures no single back-end bears too much weight, preventing any from crumbling under pressure. This balance optimizes overall performance, like a well-tuned guzheng playing effortlessly.
How is deterministic subsetting implemented to achieve such balance across a sea of clients and backends?
The magic lies in careful shuffling and allocation. Clients are organized into rounds, and within each round, they share a shuffled list of backends. Each client in a round picks from the same order.
And this eliminates the imbalances faced by random subsetting.
That's right. By using a predictable shuffle, we avoid concentration of connections on any single backend. Think of it as ensuring everyone at the banquet is served in turn without someone hogging the whole roast.
Ingenious. But surely there's more to it than just shuffling lists?
Each round uses a different seed for shuffling, even if the clients in one round start with the same order. It's like changing the tempo in music to keep the rhythm fresh and adaptable.
And if a backend task fails or restarts, does this method handle such disruptions smoothly?
Absolutely. When a backend falters, its load spreads out evenly across the others with minimal disturbance. It's our way of keeping everything harmonious, even if a musician leaves the stage unexpectedly.
Such resilience in the face of instability. How do these techniques scale with changes in the number of clients or backends?
The policy adapts elegantly, minimizing the churn of connections when changes occur. It's like a dancer who gracefully adjusts moves to the space and tempo, never missing a beat.
Fascinating. And what determines the subset size a client interacts with?
The size depends on service behavior. If clients send requests in bursts, larger subsets help balance the load. It ensures there's always a plate ready for the hungry.
Does this approach cater well to all kinds of services in the data centers, or are there exceptions?
Mostly, it serves a vast variety, much like a well-stocked pantry for chefs of all cuisines. But of course, each ingredient or service might need slight tweaks to perfect its recipe.
I'm beginning to see the full picture, everything from the foundation to the finer details. Is there more to this tale, or have we reached the peak of this technical banquet?
The feast is abundant. We've only savored a single course. Many more secrets of load balancing await to be revealed, stirring the spirit like a well-spiced broth.
Hu Tao, I find myself intrigued and eager to learn about the different approaches to load balancing. What sorts of policies and algorithms are typically used?
You're in for a treat. Let's dive into the fascinating world of load balancing policies. We start with a straightforward method called simple round robin.
Simple round robin. It sounds like an elementary approach. How does it function in practice?
Each client sends requests to backends in a sequential fashion, almost like passing a baton in a relay race. It ensures every task gets a turn at handling requests.
So it spreads requests evenly. But are there limitations to this simplicity?
Yes, indeed. The downside is that it can lead to inefficiencies. For instance, with varying query costs or machine diversity, some tasks end up working double the amount.
That sounds wasteful. Does it result from unequal request rates or perhaps something else?
Precisely. Clients differ in the number of requests they send. It's like having one storyteller tell twice as many stories, tiring them out quickly.
Then what if a machine is more powerful? Does this method account for such diversity?
Unfortunately, simple round robin falls short there too. Variations among machines mean the workload isn't even, which could result in an imbalance.
A delicate situation indeed. I assume there are other policies that handle these challenges better?
Enter least loaded round robin. This policy is more aware, keeping track of how many active requests a backend handles and focusing on those with the fewest.
So it addresses the workload more accurately. Are there any pitfalls with this approach?
Definitely. It works like a charm, except when unhealthy tasks offer misleading latencies, appearing available and sinking traffic like a deceptive whirlpool.
Could these unhealthy tasks skew the process by handling too many requests too quickly?
Yes, exactly. If a task returns quick error messages, it can draw in more traffic, thinking it's available, which is a real slippery slope if not checked.
Is there a way to recognize this unhealthy behavior to prevent overload?
By counting errors as active requests, it stops the misguidance swiftly by steering traffic towards healthier tasks.
Clever. What about the capability of different machines? It seems challenging for just one metric.
Least loaded round robin does struggle there, as each client sees only part of the backend's workload, missing the full picture of resource availability.
So there's still room for improvement. How about an advanced method like weighted round robin?
Weighted round robin is a step further. It assigns a capability score to each backend, adjusting request weights in accordance with their actual load and query success rates.
How does this approach handle previously noted issues, such as unexpected performance variances?
It's like peering into the future. Clients use frequent stats in responses to adjust capabilities dynamically, honing in efficiently on which tasks can bear more weight.
And have there been significant gains with this policy over the others?
Yes, indeed. It greatly reduces load discrepancies, ensuring that all backends are utilized evenly, akin to a perfectly orchestrated symphony.
With such refining tools, Can it become self-sustaining and optimize over time?
Absolutely. Weighted round robin thrives on continuous reevaluation and adaptation, retaining harmony amidst evolving demands.
Marvelous. So it seems an elegant balance between simplicity, adaptability, and efficiency is key in such systems.
Exactly, Elder I. Load balancing policies are ever-evolving arts, sculpting themselves to the needs of expanding digital landscapes with every note.
Your knowledge enriches my understanding, much like the gentle unfolding of a camellia. There's wisdom in mastering such balance.
As the director of this digital opera, I hope the tale brings clarity with each retelling, revealing layers like the essence of Liua's finest teas.
May the melody of load balancing continue to evolve in symphony, nurturing a harmonious connection in the vast realm of data.